going on, Jeromes? So it is time for Q&A. We got a ton of questions. We got some A's. Let's get it going. Mark Camp, do you have a plan in place for if the Vikings were to go 0-17 to somehow twist it into a good thing? Well, they'd have the number 1 overall pick. And maybe they did it without tanking. Who knows? Zach Hazless, as of right now, ranked the top 5 rookie quarterbacks next year, and you'd want the Vikings to draft Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. I think there's a lot of question marks with Caleb Williams that are frankly going to get picked apart during draft season. And I think it's possible that right now I would wager that Drake May is number 1. I think teams are going to fall in love with his production as well as his measurables. I mean, basically he's Josh Allen without all the dumb mistakes. And I think there will be some concern with Jaden Daniels in terms of a 1-year production as well as his build, as well as style of play. But I think I like Jaden Daniels a lot. Then I would go... Actually, I might go J.J. McCarthy. I know that Penix made a lot of big-time throws, except there will be questions about his frame. It won't be as bad as Bryce Young, but it'll be like Tua. And not just because they're both left-handed, but because of frame as well as Penix's knee injuries from his time at Indiana. And then I'll go Bo Nix, where there's a lot to like about Bo. I have a lot of questions still. But it's going to be a really good quarterback class, man. Next up, Jack Hall. Addison has been amazing for us this season and looks to be our future wide receiver too, but Will Levis also looked really good recently. I can't help but wonder how he would have looked in a quarterback situation if we drafted him over Addison. It's actually a fair question. I don't know. It's clear that Kwesi and company were out on Will Levis because they easily could have just taken him at the back end of the first round. But I don't know. Like Levis does have his upside. Does have moxie, shown at the tail end of that Dolphins game. It does have a strong arm. Can be erratic at times. But I mean, there's some upside there. But also, we've seen some negatives too. And am I betting on him to be a star in the league? No. Could he be a Jay Cutler or Jason type QB? Sure. Yes. Necronomicron. 1992 was when I fell into the trap of being a Vikings fan. Favorite player, John Randall. Mine was probably like the early 90s, Chris Carter. CC. Come on, man. Come on. Then once the Vikings got Warren Moon and back-to-back 122 catch seasons, it was great. Great, man. Knack Dog. All this coverage about the Chiefs game and the offsides calls pure gold. Someone needs to put together a compilation of all the calls KC gets. Hey, Kermit, remember the 47 third downs you got? So, That's fair. That's fair. It's like saying the Chiefs don't get calls. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like was it like when Steph Curry and his wife were complaining about the refs? Oh, really? Our pennant. Better fit for the Vikings in your opinion, Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix? Bo Nix, well, so we talked about how Kevin O'Connell, like he was a mobile quarterback to a degree in the pros, and we were thinking, okay, he would be champion at the bit to have a mobile quarterback. But with Dobbs, like they put in some read options. That's it. So, I mean, this offense is predicated on the pocket passer, and that's more Bo Nix. But Daniels would be a ton of fun. Like, if O'Connell would agree to completely tear down the playbook and rebuild it in Jaden Daniels' image, Daniels would be a lot more fun. Jeff Palmer. Since Dobbs set up Jefferson to take a hard hit last week, do you think that factored into dropping to third string? Yes. I think it certainly did. Also, I mean, the placement on the KJ ball on against the Falcons, I'm sure that factored in. Yeah. Knack Dog. I've been looking at all the mock drafts and doing my own. I would like to hear what your ideal draft for the Vikings to be as of right now. I want me some Devondre Sweat on the defensive line. You just read my mind. Devondre Sweat is going to be a star in this league, man. Like, I know that everyone and their mom was on Jordan Davis when he came in, but I think Devondre Sweat is a little bit better version of Jordan Davis. The nose tackle from Texas, Outland Trophy winner, and the first Outland Trophy winner that Texas has had since, I don't know, the 70s, and unanimous All-American. He's just the rock. He's just the rock in the middle. Like, I think that he's going to be Vince Wilfork adjacent. Next up. Con Chen Vang. Do you think J.J. McCarthy would be a good fit for the Vikings? I'm on the edge because I haven't seen any big throws on his highlights online. And if we don't draft quarterback in the first round, who should we draft? Well, McCarthy is hampered by the offense that he's in. And Harbaugh wants to play meat and potatoes football. They want to run the ball. They got Blake Corum. They got a good offensive line. But McCarthy, he's got the size, he's got athletic ability, he's got a good arm, he's got accuracy at all three levels, and I think that he's a guy who's going to have a better career in the NFL than in college. Not to say that he's going to be Michael Jordan, but who's the only person to hold Michael Jordan under 20 points a game? Dean Smith, back in college. And I think that could be what it is with McCarthy, especially if he does get to sit for a year or two. Owen Wright, I love the daily content. Thank you. Granted, the Vikings make the playoffs. What should say expectations, hopes? We don't have Kirk. Super Bowl homeboy. I will say that if Mullins and the offense can get right, and you got Justin Jefferson, and the defense is playing the way that it is, I mean, stranger things have happened. Josh Williams, do you think the Vikings will extend Bynum, and what could it look like? Well, I guess we are coming up, aren't we? He is going to be in a contract year next season. I think it could be big. Yeah, I mean, this year, maybe they let it ride because they could always franchise tag him after his rookie deal is done. But, I mean, if he keeps playing the way that he's playing right now, it's going to be big. Noah Koski, prediction. When we look back in 10 years, where are Jefferson and Addison going to land in the wide receiver tandem ranking list? I think that he will be in the mix with Moss and Carter. Like he'd be up there with Rice and Taylor, Rice and whoever. Yeah, I think he'll certainly be up there. Lucid. It really seems like the Vikings could beat any team both in the NFC and AFC playoff picture. But who do you think would make them struggle the most? The Niners. As funny as it seems, because the Vikings beat the Niners, but San Francisco is so good in all facets. I would say maybe. Well, I was going to say the Ravens, except you saw what Brian Flores and the Dolphins did to Lamar Jackson when he was head coach. I mean, they just zero blitzed him all day long. And I do believe in Flores. I love that they cater the game plan to their opponent. And I don't know, I feel like with San Francisco's defense, it could give the Vikings offense some fits without Kirk Cousins. All right. Next up, Nathan Purcell. Although Jaron Hall hasn't played much, do you think his development in practice is going to affect the draft next season? Yes. I think that, talk about practice. So Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi and company, they see him every single day, and they'll have a good idea if he will be able to command and compete to be the guy of the future. Right. And even if he does show promise, like having multiple good quarterbacks, as you've seen this year, ain't a bad thing. So I think even if Jaron Hall, if they like him for the future, if the right guy is there in the first or second round, I think that they still could do that. Schlangerbanger. What do you think our Super Bowl window is right now? Is this team going to be great for a while, or are we in win now mode? The team is definitely Super Bowl caliber, and things like injuries are down until last year, stripping our chances. Merry Christmas, and Skull. Hey, back at you. I think if they have Kirk back, which I think is a very likely outcome right now, I think that Super Bowl window is open. I mean, if Flores is back next year and Cousins is back, I mean, the sky is the limit. The Vikings could definitely get things done next year. Kenny Lay. Was it Kenneth Lay from Enron? It's funny. Would you be up to make a quarterback tier list at some point? Kirk the top, Fields tied with Goof, and Love at the bottom. Yes, we'll put that in the hopper. Connor Hatman. What do you think it will take for the Vikings to get Flores back next year? I think with a full season of Kirk healthy and this defense, we could get to the bowl. Well, like we said in a video about Flores early in the week, I don't think that Flores will take a job just to take a job. I think that given his experience in Miami, he wants to find a spot where he is in lockstep with the owner and GM. Now, the Patriots, that might make sense. I mean, he's a New England guy, went to Boston College with the Patriots for many years. He was actually in the scouting department with the Patriots before he became a coach. So, I mean, once they trade or fire Belichick, that could make a lot of sense. But I don't think he's going to take a job just to take a job. But if he is back, he definitely deserves a raise. And if he comes back, like he would see that, hey, we got a chance to do something very special on this side of the ball. There you go. Knack dog. And Jerome Ezekiel Cousins, I have to say that you were great for Vikings fans. Thank you. Your charisma, your anecdotes, and your content is amazing. I did not write this. Keep up the great work. Skull Purple for the win. Have great holidays and keep giving us all the great content for many years to come. Hey, thank you. Happy holidays to you and yours as well. Traveler, the Texans under Ryans has quickly become my favorite non-Vikings team. Absolutely, man. And it sucks the injury to Tank Dell, and Stroud is going to be missing some time with the concussion. But, I mean, the Texans, they're not quite there yet. They need a couple more classes of infusion of talent, and it's almost like it's so weird. Like Caserio was a terrible GM, and then all of a sudden he got good. But D'Amico Ryans is a hell of a leader. I like their defense a lot. C.J. Stroud is going to be a star, and Nico and Tank are really good. Come on, man. Eau Claire Paven, can we get an impact defensive tackle in this year's draft? John Randall style? Yes. I love me some Jerzon Newton, although he's probably going to be out of the range for the Vikings, but there's going to be a lot. I mean, this is a pretty solid defensive tackle class. That's exactly what the Vikings need right now. Knack Dog again. Thoughts on Joe Milton as late round quarterback, 70-yard bombs all game long. Is he declaring or is he entering the transfer portal? I'm not sure. But Milton's interesting where, I mean, he's got a great fastball, but he has to develop quite a bit. Harm's way. So with all the realignment going on in college sports, it got me wondering what the NFL could look like, a potential realignment of its own based on geographical locations. NFC North, Vikings, Packers, Bears, Chiefs. East is the Bills, Eagles, Giants, Commies. Texans, Saints, Falcons, Titans in the South. Niners, Rams, Broncos, Seahawks. Browns, Bengals, Lions, Colts. Patriots, Jets, Ravens, Steelers. Bucks, like Florida and Carolina. Come on, raise up. And then Chargers, Raiders, Cardinals, Cowboys. I mean, with the 2002 realignment, I feel like it's pretty good. And I don't think that there's any great shakeups. Plus, moving teams around just to move them around, well, I guess the only weird one is that the Cowboys are still in the NFC East, but of course that's all about marketing and TV. But am I trading the Lions for the Chiefs? No. Just selfishly, I'd rather have Jared Goff than Mahomes in this division for the next 10 years. Is King Kene and Wangu being underutilized? Yes. And do you think Anthony Barr and Harrison Smith are retiring this year? Yes. Or I think that Harrison could run it back for another year or two, but I don't think he'll be here. I think him taking his pay cut and revising his contract basically made this the last dance. So, yeah, I think that's it. Cody Pierce. Not football related, but when you go to that undisclosed location, do you play slots? If so, what's your favorite? And I'll be watching the Vikes game from Mistake Lake. So I do not play slots, where it's never really, they never really appealed to me. I know that it's a good way to grind out comps, but if you're going to do that, you may as well do video poker, give them the edge. But I understand like the appeal because all the lights and all the flashing stuff, and you can turn a very little into a lot. But also a lot of times you lose a very little. And I got some good friends who are slot jockeys, and they love like the Buffalo and like the Moolah machine. But I don't know. I don't like when I wager a couple of jelly beans. It's on sports. It's on the pokers. It's on craps. That's really about it. Swimbot. How did the Raiders score 63 points tonight after going 0 against the Vikings? Make that Vikings D look amazing. Brian Flores. And also Brandon Staley. You fired. Andy Xiong. Chris Jones possibly going to be a free agent after this year if Flores stays. Would you spend free agent money? Would you spend money on free agency or draft young talent on defense, given the scenario that Kirk leaves? It's tough. I think Jones, I don't think that he's going to be worth the $20 million per year, although he's still really damn good. I would prefer to rack up and stack up in the draft on defense. And, taking a shot at quarterback early in the draft and then basically spending the rest of it on defense. And then you could supplement offensively a little bit in free agency. Yeah. Todd Welter. All should be the starter for the rest of the season. I mean, there's definitely upside there with the more missile, but I understand why Kevin O'Connell went with Nick Mullins. John Marley. Which running back do you want the Vikings to draft? I feel like Blake Corum's really good. Blake Corum's really good. This is not like there's no Bajan, there's no Gibbs in this year's class. I don't think there's going to be a first-round running back, but yeah, I haven't done enough research yet on running backs to just be like, hey, that should be the guy. But I don't know. Can we find like a Pacheco, like a tough, violent runner? Because we already got our home run threat in Ty Chandler. Mr. La 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 La. Would the Vikings be a top 5 to 8 team if Kirk not going down and given the defense improvement throughout the season? Yes. I think the Vikings would be neck and neck right now with the Lions. Like I don't think that the Vikings with Kirk lose the Broncos or the Bears game. I think they would have gone on a run, which sucks. Seems like we're missing out a good defense offense clicking last year. It's every other. Everything is every other, man. Todd Haysbrook, favorite backup on the Vikings rooster? It's got to be. I was gonna say. I was gonna say Josh Dobbs, except nah, not backup anymore. Well, I guess he is back to being a backup. Jaquelin Roy, yeah, Jaquelin Roy is up there. Other than that, favorite backup. Oh, Johnny Munt. Always a big fan of the backup tight ends. Now, people don't really know this, but at the start of the podcast, like one of our running gags that I always had a huge crush on the backup tight end. So we went through like Chase Ford and Rhett Ellison and A.C. Leonard and David Morgan the second. It was good times, man. Drew Smith. Merry Christmas, Andy. Hope you and your family are well. Hey, back at you. The Smiths. Isn't that bad? Number 1, does pineapple belong on pizza? You put whatever you want on pizza. Like, this is America. This is land of the free, home of the Whopper. So yeah, anything you want on pizza is fine. And also, like the salty and the sweet, it works, man. It works. Who are some potential offseason additions the Vikings could bring in through free agency or the draft to get this offensive punch and start getting some blowout victories? Scowl. I mean, Saquon would be a lot of fun. Or if you want to go the discount route, Josh Jacobs, where I'm not about spending at running back, but if you have guys that are established stars, I mean, Saquon would take a lot of pressure off of this offense. It would. Andy Sean. How well do you think the Minnesota Timberwolves will do in the month of December? It's tough to say because I know that there's going to be a hitch in the giddy up coming up in the schedule where it will get significantly tougher. But I think that the Wolves, I like that they got playoff experience last year, and frankly, they gave the Nuggets their toughest series, and I think defensively is great. I actually think that the initial injuries this season were a bit of a blessing in disguise because you got a lot of bench guys, valuable experience and minutes. So I think that the Wolves, I mean, weather the storm, but also once you get to playoffs, like there's no bad teams in the playoffs, and I think it'll be good to have them battle tested. And so I know I'm Mr. Purple Positivity, but I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic about what's going to be going on with the Wolves. I think that they have a chance to do something very, very special this year. Viking Jeff, thoughts on daylight savings time? Get rid of it. No, Arizona has a right. Hey, Arizona, you want to change your time? No. There you go. Adam Brunker, would Dobbs be starting if Greg, the third leg, made it his first kick versus the Raiders? I don't think so, because at the end of the day, like Dobbs in the offense weren't producing. I mean, they would have put up 3 points. Nah. And when are you going to start doing the play-by-play videos for us? Play-by-play? Derek Johnson. Do you think Kirk Cousins' contract should be? Expected? Yes. I think he'll sign here. 2-year, $80 million, $70 million guaranteed. Like that. That's my guess. Justin Miller, ranked in order, which professional Minnesota sports teams are most likely to win the respective championship? So I assume the Lynx are good. So we'll say the Lynx. Lynx this upcoming season or current season. Lynx, Timberwolves, Vikings, Twins, space, Wild. I hear the Wild are bad. LFL football. Who do you think will win the college football championship? Will you come to Seattle to meet the Jeromes? There's quite a few of them here. I will head to Seattle. Seattle's a great town. Absolutely love it. I do think that Alabama's going to beat Michigan. I think Texas is going to boat race Washington, and I think Bama will edge out Texas in the national title game. Much to the chagrin to all the haters and the losers, like Bama should have been in, and then they win the playoff. Andrew, because Jalen Monroe's really improved throughout the season. There is more parity this year than ever. It feels like the playoffs will be wide open. If Kirk had stayed healthy, how much improved he under Flores? How far do you think they'd go? Skull from West Virginia. Win the whole thing. Win the whole effing thing, which sucks. Joshua Anderla. Of all the free agents available next year, who would you like to see the Vikings target, excluding any that were Vikings this season? Well, I mean, a high-end running back would make some sense. I feel like offensive line, they're actually knocking on all the wood, good to go. Defensive line makes sense. Also snoop around what's available in the corner market, and then go from there. Michael Brown, odds of TJ having a crazy game versus the Bengals. It's actually pretty good because the Bengals are ass, thank you, against tight ends. They're 32nd league in terms of fantasy points allowed. So I think TJ could go nuts, especially since Mullins. When Mullins was starting in San Francisco, Kittle was his number one target, and tight ends being the security blanket over the middle. And also, I do expect the offense to have a lot of crossing concepts with Mullins, and I think the offense is going to look very similar to when Kirk Cousins was operating it. So I think that TJ could be in for a lot of volume. Mr. Going to be in the homeland for Christmas Eve versus the Lions. Any buys you'd recommend the lady and watch at St. Cloud area? Skull. So in the St. Cloud area, I don't really know the bar scene in St. Cloud. No. I have recommendations up the butt for the Twin Cities or Winona or even Rochester, but don't really know St. Cloud. But I would say find someplace local. Like chains are great. Chains are chains, but someplace local is fantastic. Like here in the Twin Cities, what would I recommend? Oh, Bunnies. I wish Mike Tice still lived around here because he rocked that place. Adam Root, if Mullins plays good down the stretch, do you see the team sticking with him next year as a bridge quarterback instead of re-signing Cousins? Love the content. I see him being here, maybe not as the bridge. I think it's highly likely that the Vikings re-sign Kirk. Charge and batter, what are your top expected free agents to bring in? Haven't done enough research about who's going to be available. Plus, there's always tons of guys that are just cut. So we'll do up a list as we get closer. Estano, how hopeful are you the defense will keep up the same level through the remainder of the season, especially the Lions games? Lever Channel Skull from Paraguay. Well, the problem is the Vikings have to play the Lions twice in short order, and I feel like the Lions could adapt in the second game. Got to respect Ben Johnson. But overall, I actually think that they could make a great run this year, especially with the different stuff that Flores is doing. It's really hard to dissect and digest in season. Off season would be completely different. I think teams would catch up to Flores next year. That's why you always got to keep changing. It's a cat and mouse game, all that stuff. Steve Jones, any news on Davenport? Well, Doogie says he's in a walking boot and has eyes of return this year, but we'll see. Slips Hood Cavalier was going to shave my head for luck if Dobbs got to the playoffs. What do I do if Mullins or Hall gets there? Well, since Mullins went to Southern Miss, you'd have to build a great volleyball facility. And with Jaron Hall, him being from BYU, have a nice tall glass of milk. Jokester. Are the Chargers really that bad, or do we just have the best defense ever? Thursday Night Football is insane. Chargers are bad. Chargers are bad. Brandon Staley's bad. Everyone's bad. The DSP. DSP. Yeah. What are we going to do with the quarterback situation? Dobbs is showing why he has been bouncing around teams. Kirk was spectacular. I do think it will be Kirk, Mullins, Hall, and rookie TBD. Yeah. Muhammad Skull. When did you start watching the Vikings love the team? Who's your favorite past and current Vikings player? Started watching Ernest when I was like 5'6", because when you're younger than that, like, you don't really care. Like, you're just excited about being a kid. Like, during Vikings games, I'd play with dinosaurs and clay. But early mid 90s, the Chris Carter era, and then of course Randy Moss solidified it. Favorite past and current Vikings player. So my current, JJ, Daniil, Harrison, Josh Metellus creeping up there too. Christian Darrisaw, let's go. Past, I mean, so it sort of vacillates. Like there's a rotating top 10-ish. So it's Moss, Carter, John Randall, Jared Allen, Antoine Winfield Jr., Everson, guys of that ilk. R2J2B2. Would drafting Jaden Daniels make JJ happy? I mean, sure. I mean, Jaden Daniels can throw an accurate ball. He's got a good arm on him as well. The LSU connection, it certainly doesn't hurt. Absolutely. Ryan Nuazada. Aloha, Andy. Aloha. What up? Which quarterback do you feel the Vikings will draft in the 2024 NFL draft? Well, since all the mock drafts are saying Bo Nix, I don't think it's going to be Bo Nix. I actually think that I think it could be J.J. McCarthy. Or, I mean, does Penix Medicals make him fall? Maybe. Tyler Brush, with Dobbs being moved all the way to quarterback 3, does that suggest anything about Kevin O'Connell's opinion on quarterbacks like Dobbs, dual threat? I mean, it's possible, but also, I mean, I think it just came down to, hey, which two quarterbacks have been in the offense the longest? Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins. I think that's what it could have come down to. Wood Troll, if it was up to you, what were your plan for 2024 running back room? People aren't going to like it, but I'll hang on to Madison. I just won't have him be RB1. Kincaid will be there. Ty Chandler obviously would be there. McBride would be a training camp body. I would look to spend a day 3 selection on a running back or swing for the fences, man. Like can we get Saquon or Josh Jacobs in here one time? Or maybe Tony Pollard off the tag? Who knows? First and Skull. What are your top 3 Vikings away game experiences, win or loss? I've actually only gone to Vikings away games at Lambeau. And, well, no, I went to one Soldier Field game. I can't remember which game that was, though, off the top of my head. So it must have been really good, or I must have had... I don't remember the specific year, but I do remember that they were filming Top Chef Chicago Season 4, because they did like a tailgate challenge, and we saw them filming off over to the side. It's kind of cool. That's before like Top Chef was Top Chef even. So I guess I could reverse engineer that and figure out the year. But no, I've gone to Lambeau twice. Viking split. But overall, like, you know, Lambeau gets this reputation for being a garbage heap piss hole. Oh, you're expecting me to say but and then say something nice? No. No. Miles, who's day 2 defensive tackle? You give us potential elite 3 tech defensive tackle. Last year I had a draft crush on Mozzie Smith. Well, we could probably get Mozzie Smith because he ain't doing anything with the Cowboys. But Drazon Newton of Illinois, I think that he's going to be undersized, so people are going to hate on him. But I think that he's going to go top half of the first round. I love his disruptiveness. I love that he's solid against the run. He's great. Mason Smith from LSU, Jaquelin Roy's former teammate. I think he's going to be in the mix. Michael Hall from Ohio State's super disruptive. Howard Cross III from Notre Dame. Again, another undersized guy, but just a motor. I love it. And also, you can't talk about defensive tackles in this class without talking about the Texas kids. Hook 'em. Where Tavondre Sweat, I mean, he's not the 3 tech, but just a 360-pound nose tackle. Get after it. Let's go. And also Byron Murphy. No, the other Byron Murphy is also going to be probably in the day 1, day 2 mix. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a decent defensive tackle, guys. I kind of like it. Ryan Nader Prod. Do you see Nick Mullins leading us deep in the playoffs or even making the playoffs? Making the playoffs, yes. Deep in the playoffs, TBD. We'll see. Tyler Brush. Jane Daniels more likely to be Hurts, Lamar, or Fields? Well, Fields is actually looking a little bit better now. But Daniels, I mean, the Lamar comparisons are certainly there. And you would have to go all in on his skill set. Like It was so weird. Hey, remember when the Ravens had Flacco and Lamar as his backup? Like, how were those offensive meetings like? Because, like, hey, if Joe got hurt, like, there's 0% chance of running the same offense. Like, it's got to be tough to have two completely different playbooks for your quarterbacks. But yeah, you'd have to go all in with Jane Daniels. Juror Gossip. Our season is trash. Why are we not going for a good draft pick? Yeah, because we're not. Fitz Slayer. Thoughts on the Lions? I think Dan Campbell's a great motivator. I think that he's a poor in-game coach. I think that Ben Johnson is extremely bright. I think that he's a very good offensive coordinator. I think that he's going to be a head coach soon. I think that Aaron Glenn has not been good, and the Lions defense has. So they had some losses in the secondary. Injuries certainly are a factor too, but they're very soft on the back end. I feel like Hutchinson was better last year. I feel like there's been a regression in the front seven. Offensively, offensive line, when healthy, they have one of the best in the game. I think Montgomery has been a hammer. I think that they aren't utilizing Gibbs to his potential. Amon St. Brown, for my money, is one of the best slot receivers in the game. I love his attitude. Like he plays with such a chip. Like the Steve Smith comparisons are apt, but also Isaiah Thomas, not Zeke. Not Detroit Pistons Zeke. I'm talking about like Celtics Isaiah Thomas, where I feel like he's just got that dog. I love me some Amon St. Brown. I got all the respect in the world for him. Jamo is a high variance hit or miss guy, and I think that's what he's going to be throughout his career. I think that he's going to be Robbie Anderson with better PR, probably. And Goof is not the answer. No, could Hendon Hooker be the guy? Maybe, but overall, I think the Lions got overhyped by the media, and it was very telling. Like, even like a lot of Lions fans in the comments were just like, pump the brakes, man. Because Lions fans have been through a lot. They do deserve a winner, just not this season or the next season or anytime, actually. Shane Nelson. The Vikings defense didn't allow a single score. And also Sam Laporta is going to be a monster. Brian Branch is one of my favorite defensive backs in that class, and he's proven it. And Jack Campbell. So Jack Campbell has all the measurables, and he's a physical specimen, right? But his transition to the NFL, it's been a little bit rough so far. Shane Nelson. The Vikings defense didn't allow a single score against the Raiders. Meanwhile, as I'm typing the Raiders up 49-0, ended up being 63-0. What does it say about how good our defense is, how bad the Chargers are? Yes and yes. Mr. Rainfire, can you do a depth chart analysis video? Week 1 now versus 2024 prediction. Yes, put in the hopper. Trevor Lowe Fishing. What up, our guy? Best pho in the cities. So there's a couple places. I have a list. All right, so I'm actually kind of a fan of Cameron Bay, which they have a couple locations. One in Eagan, I believe, but we always go to the Burnsville one because it's near the Costco. So there's nothing like dropping like $300, hopefully, at Costco and then just go and get some pho. It's great. But Cameron Bay is really good. Love the family that owns it. Also, that's the thing is, like, when you go to most Chinese places, as long as it's not like a Panda Express, it's usually like family owned and run. It's a mom and pop shop. It's great. Pho Bay, which is sort of in the Lindale area of Minneapolis. It's probably one of the better broths I've had. Yeah, I think that they might have the best broth. It's close, but it's in like a weird roundabout because it's near an industrial laundry, and that was the first time we went there was when Breaking Bad was really popular. So just like, wait a minute, that's not a laundry, that's a meth lab. But Pho Bay is great, and something that I love is taking my family out to Asian places where I tried to get it. Ideally, the wife is the only white person there because if Asians eat at their Asian restaurant, you know that it's good. It's really good because. A really good place we went to in Vegas, Chinatown, Shang Artisan Noodle, which is great. They're starting to get more branches. It's sort of like a Vegas chain, which deservedly so. They had just long tables of Asian families having lunch in there, slurping noodles. It's just like, yes, this is where I need to be. That's right. Also, I Walk in Savage, really, really good. And also Simply Pho. I think Simply Pho might have the best spring rolls that I've had. So there you go. A couple recommendations, mainly South Metro. With the what are your go-to dry rubs for per meat choice: game, poultry, beef, fish, pork. So I'll admit I've gotten kind of lazy in this aspect where I just use like an all-purpose where I'll generally just sort of like make my own. Take pink Himalayan sea salt and smoked paprika and pepper and garlic, and you just go from there. I'll mix in. So there's some of this barbecue black. It's like charcoal rub. I forget the technical term, but I'll sprinkle some of that in there, and I'll use that on chicken and on fish and on pork. But for beef, I would just go salt and pepper. It's just sort of like the brisket theory. So even if we're smoking burnt ends or like a chuck roast or even if it's Christmas coming up. So if you're gonna do like a standing rib roast, it's like salt and pepper. That's all you need. Go at it. Yeah. John, are the Dallas Cowboys finally dem boys? No. Maybe. I am concerned though because Dallas is starting to look kind of good. Holy crap, this is going long. Who offers us the best chance to the playoffs, Mullins or the pass shot? Mullins. And here's the thing too, like Mullins has been the backup whenever he's been healthy, and I think that's something. Kirk Tyler Johnson's guitar. Would you trade Kirk for Aaron Donald straight up 1-for-1? No. Nah. Donald's getting old, although he's still really good, and his contract is huge, and also can't really trade Kirk since he's not under contract right now. Jim Butler. Why isn't Brian Oswald being used in B-Flow's defense? Well, when it was Hicks and Pace, he used two linebackers, but ever since Hicks got hurt, they're basically just using Pace as the only linebacker. So I think that's part of it. Also, Asamoah's had a ton of injuries. I think that's a factor as well. James, should the Vikings have signed Flacco instead of training for Dobbs? It's a little bit revisionist history, but Flacco is operating against Stefanski's offense, and Dobbs was great for 2 games, and not so much. Ryan Schultz, is Kevin Collins promoting Hall to QB2 a sign he will stop coaching so conservatively? Maybe. Yeah. Doob Door of what are the odds the Vikings win last week if 40,000 people hadn't invaded Las Vegas? Well, they won because of the fans. They would have tied if no one showed up. Azar goes, if and when the Vikings win the Super Bowl, would you get skull tatted on the throat? Probably not throat. I don't know, again, no judgment on people who do like throat or face tattoos. Just not my thing. No, but I'll get skull tattooed somewhere on my body, somewhere on my person, if and when the Vikings win. Bubka, why does it seem like we are the only team that can't run successful screens? So frustrating. That's true. The last good screen the Vikings have had was that Dalvin one against the Colts. That's it. I swear to Christ, every single screen since then has gone for like 2 yards or less, and usually negative yardage. But that's it. That is this week's supersized Q&A. You guys are the best. Skull Vikings, you know what to do. It's Friday. Venmo, blah, blah, blah. Skull, some production value.